What is Sharia law? Isn't compatible with the United States? Or is it just a belief structure that, organize a dietary sort of structure? Well, let's go ahead and dive in and examine it. So here's how we're going to do this. We are first going to establish what the American founding principles are. We are then going to answer the question, what is Sharia law? Finally, we'll look at some of the topics and see what Sharia law actually says about it and if it is compatible with what we believe here in the United States. And then we'll open it up to a Q&A. So, first of all, we do need to acknowledge the foundational principles of the United States. The foundation was Christian. But what does that mean? Most Americans nowadays deny that it was founded on upon Christianity. I say that America is Christian founded nation, not a Christian nation itself. There is a huge difference between the two. If it was a Christian nation, then only Christians would be able to run for any positions within the government. Some claim that America can't possibly be Christian founded because of insert, what we don't like here. So, but that claim is very foolish. On the Declaration of Independence, we have 56 signatures. 54 of those were confessing Christians. 2 of them were deists. This means that 96% of the signatures on our founding document were signed by Christians. So Christians had a huge role in our foundation. Does this mean that America has always lived up to those principles? No. It is still a human-run organization. And as we all know, we are not perfect, and we have all fallen short of the glory of God. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at what Sharia law actually is. Sharia law is based off the teachings of Muhammad found in the Hadith and the Quran. Because of this, Sharia law is fundamental to Islam. It is critical because in the Quran, you must make sure you have no resistance to Muhammad's will. But are these teachings compatible with American freedoms? Let's take a look. So we're going to go through individual topics and see what in other words, it is illegal. Pictures imitate the creative act of Allah, so they are illegal. This is applying to living animals or mankind. It is unlawful to decorate walls with pictures of living animals or mankind. So again, even decoration in your house, I guess my banner would fall in that because it's a picture of me repeatedly, would fall under that. So therefore, that would be illegal under Sharia law. Pictures of your pets you may have up, pictures of your family, all of those would be illegal under Sharia law. Obviously, that is a bit of a violation of your basic freedoms. here in the United States. Well, let's look at music here. A lot of people like playing musical instruments. I mean, it's pretty common. Well, musical instruments are illegal, period. No ifs, ands, or buts, according to Sharia law. Singing or listening to singing is illegal. Except, there's an except for this one, songs that promote piety. So religious songs can be sung. Good, because the Quran a lot of times is sung. So that would have been a huge issue. Thievery. Let's turn over to thievery. So this is more of a legalistic question. A person's right hand is amputated, whether he is a Muslim, a non-Muslim subject. No, that seems pretty rough, bit barbaric, if you will. So let's turn to apostates. So this would definitely fall under freedom of religion. So being able to leave Islam. Sharia law classifies an apostate if you intend to commit unbelief, even if it is in the future, deny the existence of Allah or of his attributes, be sarcastic about Allah's name, his command, his interdiction, or his threats. Deny any verse of the Quran. So you got to completely believe in the Quran 100%. You cannot deny a single verse. It says that sperm comes from between the backbone and ribs. You have to believe that. So mockingly say, I don't know what faith is. Believe that something of itself or by their selves own nature has any independent influence from the will of Allah. When a person who, so that is the classification of if you are. So how are they treated? Let's see what Sharia law says about how you treat an apostate. When a person who has reached puberty and is sane voluntarily apostates from Islam, he deserves to be killed. That's pretty cut and dry. Well, so is that only retaining to the state being able to do it, or is it just everyone? Well, the next section clarifies that. There is no indemnity for killing an apostate. So there's no penalty for killing an apostate because they are someone who needs to be killed. So according to Sharia law, if you ever leave Islam, your life is forfeit. Pretty rough there. Definitely a violation of the freedom of religion, according to the United States. So what about honor killings? The following is not subject to retaliation. A father or mother, or their father or mother, for killing their offspring or their offspring's offspring. So there is no retaliation for you killing your kids or you killing your grandkids. And that falls under honor killings. Okay, that definitely would be considered still murder, considering there is no upper age to that. It's just period. Adultery. The penalty for adultery is stoning. The penalty for unmarried sex is 100 lashes, which are pretty nasty. So that's the penalty for adultery. Right now in the United States, there literally is no legal ramifications for adultery. You can sleep around all you want. And if you have sex outside of marriage, no issues. Well, under Sharia law, that's Both of those are against the law. One requiring your execution by stoning, the other 100 lashes. What about infidels? What about treating Muslims and Christians? Obviously, they should be fairly treated. There shouldn't be any sort of preferential treatment. Well, let's find out. The indemnity paid for a Jew or Christian is 1/3 of the indemnity paid for a Muslim. So their lives are 1/3 the value of a Muslim. It is not permissible to give zakat, which is charity, to a non-Muslim. Well, that's pretty rough. So Muslim cannot give charity to a non-Muslim. It is not legal. It is offensive to use the vessels of non-Muslims or wear their clothes. We saw that enacted not too long ago over in India, if memory serves, where a woman drank after a Muslim. So a non-Muslim drank after a Muslim and she was thrown in jail for it. So a non-Muslim may not touch the Quran. So non-Muslims do not have the right to touch the Quran according to Sharia law. Non-Muslims are not allowed to mix with Muslims at certain events. That definitely violates the right of assembly. It is permissible for a Muslim to visit a non-Muslim who is ill, but not recommended. A Muslim may not inherit. So a non-Muslim may not inherit from a Muslim. There is no penalty for a Muslim who kills a non-Muslim. Oof, that's nasty. So in other words, under Sharia law, Muslims can kill non-Muslims. They don't need a reason. They don't need justification. And there is no penalty for it. Non-Muslim subjects of Islamic State may live free from harm if they do the following. Pay the jizya. A special poll tax in some areas can be ridiculously high. That is set up to the authorities to set it any time. This poll tax is not paid by Muslims. Comply with certain Islamic rules, specifically the penalty for adultery, which is stoning, and thievery, which is amputation. Distinguish themselves from Muslims by dressing differently. Keep to the side of the street when a Muslim passes. So you've got to give the Muslim not only the right of way, but the extreme right of way. Accept a lesser form of greeting. So they don't greet you at the same level. It's a lesser form. Agree not to build new churches or ring church bells. Do not build houses higher than those of Muslims. The one before the last one, agree not to build new churches or ring church bells. Of course, that violates freedom of religion. So the agreement is broken if the non-Muslim breaks the rules, fails to pay the jizya, leads a Muslim away from Islam, mentions something impermissible about Islam, or marries or has sex with a Muslim woman. If this happens, then the non-Muslim is treated as a prisoner and may be lynched, provided they do not convert to Islam before the sentence is carried out. Okay, well, what about legal procedures? when it comes to non-Muslims. The judge treats two litigants impartially. Okay, that sounds pretty good. Seeing both in places of equal honor, attending to each, and so forth, unless one is a non-Muslim, in which case it gives the Muslim a better seat of honor. So the Muslim has greater weight into it in cases of legal law. What about homosexuality? That's a pretty hot topic. I mean, I just did a whole bunch of short videos on the LGBTQ plus community. Seems that the LGBTQ plus community is aligned with Islam a lot of times, and they seem to be buddy-buddy. So what does Sharia law say about it? The Prophet said, so this is directly from Muhammad, kill the one who sodomizes and the one who lets it be done to him. In other words, kill the homosexuals. This is why we see pictures of gay men being thrown off the top of buildings. Because homosexuality is not only outlawed, it is punishable by death, according to Sharia law. What about women? You hear this a lot. Women's rights, they are equal. Muhammad was, he was a great advocate for women's rights. Well, let's take a look at what Sharia law, because Sharia law is based off of Muhammad's teachings. Let's see what it says. A woman may not conduct her own marriage, meaning that she is not free to marry by choice. So a woman in Islam, according to Sharia law, cannot choose who she's going to marry. A male guardian is required to validate the marriage arrangement. A woman is not free to choose that guardian. It is assigned by a family relative. Once she is married, she becomes the charge or property of the husband. A Muslim woman may not marry a non-Muslim man. A woman does not have the right to custody of her children from a previous marriage. So if they get divorced, she gives up the right to those children. And divorce is as easy as divorce, divorce, divorce. Boom, marriage is over. That's it. That's all the man has to say. Doesn't have to prove anything. Doesn't have to go through any legal procedure. Doesn't have to hire a lawyer. Nope. Just divorce, divorce, divorce. You lose all rights to your children. It is obligatory for a woman to let her husband have sex with her immediately when he asks her. So no matter what, you have to have sex. As long as she can physically endure it. So as long as it's not a physical issue, you have to have sex with your husband whenever he wants, without question. It is not lawful for a wife to leave the house except by the permission of her husband. This has got to be a pain in the rear end. I love my wife. It would be a pain in the rear end if every time she had to leave the house, she had to ask for permission. That would be extremely annoying alone for a husband. Let alone how absolutely limiting this is for the woman. She has no right to leave the house. So she is literally a prisoner within her own household. Unless her husband gives her leave. So her husband is the prison ward. When a husband notices signs of rebellion in his wife, he warns her in words. If she commits rebellion, He keeps from sleeping with her without words and may hit her. So this is full right for a husband to hit a wife if he notices signs of rebellion. What those signs are, it's left to the husband's interpretation. If she commits rebellion, well, what does committing rebellion look like? No definition. That's left up to the husband. So that's pretty bad as far as domestic violence goes. That's definitely not equal rights there. The indemnity paid for the death or the injury of a woman is half the indemnity paid for a man. Talk about a wage gap. I know there's a false claim of the pay gap going around in the United States, but this is literally a gap as far as the value of the woman is concerned. She is half the value of a man. If she's a Christian woman, then she is 1/3, and then half of that. So half of 1/3 the value of a Muslim man. Whew, that's pretty bad removal there. That's some masculinity there, some toxic masculinity. Here's another one about inheritance. Divide the inheritance so that the man receives twice what women receive. There's another one. It is unlawful for women to leave the house without face veiling. So they have to cover their face in order to leave the house after their husband already gives them permission. And most of the time has to be has to have a male guardian with them whenever they go outside. In court, so this is legal matters. We're going back to legal matters again. In court, a woman's testimony is half as valuable as a man. This is terrible when it comes to rape. You see what happens with a rape charge against a man is the man will step up and say, "No, it didn't happen," or she was willing. And the woman comes up and says, "He raped me." Well, the woman's testimony is only half that of a man's. So under Sharia law, the woman has just admitted to adultery and therefore needs to be stoned if she's married, or 100 lashes if she is unmarried. So why would any woman put herself into that situation and risk being penalized? She would have to go get another man who witnessed the act, or 2 other women that witnessed the act, in order to have the testimonies be of the same or greater values. So, well, let's cover one of the hotter topics now: slavery. So, as you guys know, slavery in the United States was abolished quite a long time ago. But under Sharia law, it is legal. In fact, there's a whole class of requirements for them. So let's go ahead and go through and see what Sharia law says about slavery, since it is legal. It says, when a child or a woman is taken captive, they become slaves by the fact of the captivity. So immediately, if they're taken captive, they are slaves. And the woman's previous marriage is immediately annulled. This definitely goes back to the Quran, where Muhammad was saying, hey, guard your loins against women, except for those who you're married to and those your right hand possesses. In this case, that would be slaves. Very much so. So you can rape slaves because she doesn't have a choice in the matter. Obviously, if she was just captured, she would not be too horny. When an adult male is taken captive, the caliph considers the interests and decides between the prisoner's death, slavery, release without paying, anything or ransoming him in exchange for money or for a Muslim captive held by an enemy. If the prisoner becomes a Muslim, then he may not be killed. And one of the three alternatives is chosen. So this is only for males. Women, no, you don't get the options. They are immediately slaves. Whomever enters Islam before being captive may not be killed, or his property confiscated, or his young children taken captive. Again, if children are taken captive, they're automatically turned into slaves. So it seems that this is strongly encouraging you to accept Islam before you're taken captive. This also implies if you're not a Muslim and you're taken captive, you may be killed, and your property can be all confiscated, and your young children can be taken captive and enslaved. Finally, slaves are property and can be treated and traded as a form of restitution. So, in conclusion, I'm going to go back through and just tick off each one and examine if it violates or if it is in line with American freedoms. So let's go ahead. So what is it? What we just discussed about Sharia law saying about art is obviously in direct conflict with American freedoms. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Well, what about what Sharia law states about music? Well, again, it is in direct conflict with American freedoms. Well, thievery, well, it's in direct conflict with American law, that's for sure. There isn't a freedom to steal, but definitely in direct conflict with American law, being that you are permanently taking away a hand for a punishment. That would be against, if we tried to do that here in America, that would be against many laws. Apostates, well, that's in direct conflict with the freedom of religion. Absolutely. You should be able to leave a religion and convert to another one. Honor killings. Yeah, that is in direct conflict with American law. Undoubtedly. American freedoms as well. What about adultery? Well, that is in direct conflict with, again, American law. What about infidels? Direct conflict with American freedoms. Homosexuality? Direct conflict with American law. Women? Really bad. Really bad violation of American freedoms. Absolutely. Slavery. Do I even have to go into this one? If Sharia law did not immediately ban slavery, it would be in conflict. The very fact that there are so many breakdowns of this, specifically saying that a person is nothing but property once they are a slave, that is a real conflict with American freedoms. So, in final conclusion, is Sharia law compatible with the United States of America? Absolutely not. It is nothing but violation after violation of American principles. So let's see. Let's go ahead and go to the live chat, open up for some Q&A. My lovely wife is awake enough. She may join me. She may not. I do not know. I'll leave that up to her. I see Carm in the chat. Why is this even a topic? Because it is a question people have been asking. Definitely with representatives in Congress who agree and support Sharia law. So this is a topic. It's pretty obvious once you dive into it what the answers are. But if that is not examined, then it gets to be quite an issue. So I believe in just bringing you guys the information and letting you guys be able to make the decision from there, because I believe you guys are intelligent. So let's see. Looks like Ellie and Carm have been going back and forth. We'll be going out to that conference with you guys. Whew. For that entire event. It should be fantastic. That is our Strong Conference out in Cali. We will be there for that for the entire time it's running. If you guys are able to make it out there, please come out. It is fantastic. So many are uninformed. Yes, that's the point. I believe fully if a lot of our misunderstandings, a lot of the conflicts that we've had can be easily resolved if we just openly read it. Yes, our Strong Tower, if I misspoke that. And yes, it's September 9th through the 11th. So we will be there for that. It shall be a wonderful, wonderful time. Yes, my wife will be there. So, yes, so I've been trying to shed more light on that. That's the same aspect I've taken, an approach I've taken with the shorts, just taking just some Quranic verses that really make no logical sense, applying basic logic to them and showing how they're false. So I figured I would do the same with this one here. So we'll go ahead and wrap on up with prayer then. I have a new prayer request that I've received. So we'll go ahead and lift them up in prayer. Lord of heaven and earth, we come before you. We first of all lift up Jessica. She is struggling in her search for you. I ask for your hand to be upon her, for you to give her wisdom and guidance, for her to come to understand you as the God you are, fully in control, fully loving, and fully just. I pray for your hand to be upon Frank. Frank is lost. He does not know you. He is struggling in the hospital right now, dealing with cancer. And his family just wishes that we would lift him up in prayer. And Lord, I ask for your hand to be upon him. If your will is for a miraculous healing, so be it. Let it be done. It would be amazing. But if that is not your will, then I ask for you to open his heart to your words so that he may come to enter into the kingdom of heaven. In the name of Jesus Christ, I pray, the name above all names. Amen.